Well, guess what? I'm sitting here with my best mate, Jason Hanrahan of the Bonsai Garden. And I want to know what he would do with this. Because I'm going to do some dramatic, transformational bonsai styling. And I'm sure you want to be part of the journey. I know what I'm going to do with it. What would you do with it?
Well,
but to find out what he says, you're going to have to keep watching the video. Worth it though. So yeah, it's Xavier, and not quite my bonsai retreat, but we will be in a minute. And it's actually 2024. Jason, he just loves being in my videos. I keep saying, like I say to Yella, please go away, go to your own channel. But what can I say? I've got that magnetism. People want to be around me, don't they, Jason?
Rabbit caught in the headlights.
So go on then.
Well, you know the mantra that I keep repeating is get the thing in the ground, thicken it up. So a potential thought is put this in a growing bed, plant it over a slab or a slate or a tile, and just get that trunk thicker and leave it there for 2-3 years, and just put some girth on that and just let it grow wild in that time. And then after you've achieved the thickness of trunk that you desire, you can then dig that up, stick it back into a pot, which will instantly restrict the growth going forward, and start trimming it and styling it at that point. But as I say, the mantra I keep repeating is put trees in the ground to put on a bit of thickness and develop the trunks.
Right, so Jason has put the right old poo-poo on it and says, Zav, don't do a video on this, put the tree in the ground. In fact, we could show people, that's a great video. Who wants to see me shoveling a load of dirt and putting that into the ground? Would you like to see that? Would you watch that video?
Absolutely.
In fact, if I gave you the shovel right now, would you dig it up? But you know what? This is a bonsai channel and I've got nothing else to film. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip straight on, because I am going to do some styling with that. And I think you'll like it. But if you don't, you'll tell me in the comments. Anyway, Jason, I know you want to go on and do your own channel, so I'm going to leave you to it. I've got to drive down and quickly get the stuff ready so we can do this styling. But you don't want to miss it. It's going to be interesting because I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. So here we are. It's the 28th of March 2025. The sun is absolutely beaming down, hence the hat. And here it is. That Satsuki Azalea is still sitting here. It's still alive. It's covered in a load of horrible algae and stuff on the soil. And I told you I had a plan. I thought about it. Jason's mantra about getting it in the ground, thickening it up, helping to heal some of those scars and wounds wasn't a bad idea. And Jason, I very nearly did it. But you know what? My beds are full. What else can I do? I've got plans for this. Let's get it out of the soil and find out what the roots are like, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do with this azalea. Stop now, write down in the comments what you would do if you were going to redesign it. And for those of you saying, Zav, you normally do all this sort of work on Satsuki Azalea post flowering, quite right, but this year I'm not interested in the flowering. I want all the energy to go into development. So that's why I'm going to be repotting now. But you know what? I thought I've got me repotting tray out. That's not going to take very long. You've seen loads of repotting videos. I thought, how else can I keep your interest in this ever so long video that I always end up doing? And I thought, I put this Chinese Elm, which was originally a cutting, it's now 5-6 years old, into this great big vast pot 2 years ago. And surprisingly, it's actually a root over rock. Well, it's not in an easy to get out container. I need to get this out and find out whether indeed it's held, and probably put it into a much more suitable container so that I can slowly reveal more and more. So no, we're not going to be going to the ins and outs of root on rock. Great videos up there that'll show you that. But we might as well find out whether or not that's actually holding. So not only the root over rock Chinese Elm discovery, but also what am I going to do with my Satsuki Azalea? Do you know, my channel just gets better and better. Sometimes I amaze even myself. So the big problem I've got with this is that I've actually got it in this ceramic, and it's going to be notoriously difficult, I think, to get it out. So here we go. Oh, all I can do is pull. Well, I said notoriously difficult. Doesn't my nose look long now? Well, there it is. It came out just like that. And for those of you who watch many of my videos, you know that if something comes out in a nice little compact root ball like that, generally means something decent is happening. So it's not, I mean, it's too much soil, I know, but that's promising. We've got lots of roots coming around the side. I really need to explore and find out, is that actually gripping the rock? And I've said to you in many of my other root over rock videos, leave it for the first year. But when you come to the second year, it's probably then a good time to just explore and find out. Do you know, someone threw a stick at me. And find out whether or not it's holding. Let's slowly tease this away. And as I say, Chinese Elm, normally very, very good. I didn't do a video of this, so I have no idea how I've attached it. And sometimes, well, truthfully, in the earlier days, my methods could be a bit hit and miss. So let's see, we've got loads and loads of lovely roots. And as I say, this isn't a video about root over rock, so let me continue to work through and then come back to, I think the rock actually goes all the way down. I think one of the keys to remember when you're doing these is you don't want to inadvertently knock the tree off in place. Now it does seem fairly secure on there. I've actually got my fingers around parts of the rock there, and I think if you look down you can actually see the rock goes all the way down to here. So all this root here is just wasting energy. What I want it to do is to continue to actually grow and spread around here. So I'm actually now going to cut those there. We can see the rock comes here as well, and I think that's into the base. There's nothing wrapped around the bottom, so I'm going to actually put some of those roots under the bottom and put that into a, might even go to a pond basket, but that is solid on that rock. Does that mean I need to explore further? Well, do you know what? My reason for taking it out now was just to find out if it's secure on the rock. Truthfully, I could probably take away a little bit more of this, but no, let's get this into a new pot. Let's wrap the rest of those roots underneath the bottom of this one, and probably get it in the shape that I actually want it. So that's a big thumbs up for that root on rock. As you well know, I've probably got about 8 or 9 of these on the go, and majority of them, certainly the Chinese Elms, are pretty successful. For me, that is my #1 recommendation for root over rock. Definitely Chinese Elm. Okay, well I found myself a nice big plastic training pot and put some of a sort of 4 or 5 millimeter soil in the bottom. There's a couple of roots there I actually like the look of, which I want to make sure are in tight on the base. But really, probably I'll leave it like that. And what I'm looking to do there is already over the next 9 months I will slowly work away some of the roots there and have to remove quite a few surface ones that have been growing, and then over the year, probably next year this time, I'll lift it a little bit. Because it's a much shallower pot, there'll be a strong growing root base beneath that rock so that I can lift more and more until eventually the entire rock is exposed and this tree is another sort of 1.5 inches higher up. And I mean, there's no doubt root over rock is not a fast quick fix. You've got to be really planning and thinking ahead for the future, and critically it all comes down to those first few steps, really making sure those initial roots are secure and firm. If the tree's healthy, they expand, or at best they grip the rock. Then it's always going to be a success from then on. It's just a matter of time. There's a root there, this one here, that's come away from the rock. It's not a problem. This is still firmly gripping, so there's a couple there that are definitely doing the job. This can make an interesting feature later on when I expose more. Anyway, let me get this together, and then we'll have a quick spin before we move on and see exactly what's happening to that Satsuki Azalea. So I'm absolutely ecstatic how well that's worked out, and again, cutting. The whole lot cost me nothing, the rock cost me nothing, and I've actually reused a lot of the soil as well. So it's basically cost me a plastic pot, which I think was £4. Lovely framework of this tree. All I really need to do is systematically go around and basically cut it right back, really just to ensure that all the growth is not going upwards. And again, the thing with Chinese elm, as you well know with me, and you'll see in the description, there's a playlist about Chinese elm, you can be brutal. In fact, the best thing with Chinese elm is to be brutal. Cut them right back to the trunk basically, and that's what I'm going to do with this. And then we will be revisiting this, I have no doubt, at some point next year. So anyway, I'm going to water that down, finish doing that. But I know what you really want to know. You all tuned in because you want to know what I was going to do with that Satsuki Azalea. Well, I've got a pot now, so maybe you've worked out exactly what I intend to do. Let's go and have a look, shall we? Well, that's what I'm thinking. We've got a branch coming down here. We've got some growth here, here, and also here. I may remove that top section, make these ones here part of the new apical crown, and create a full-on cascade with azalea. I have absolutely no idea how this is going to work out, and truthfully, I'd even argue that probably that isn't even that set up for it. But you know what? Should we give it a go anyway? I've got a pot for it now, so let's get this out of the soil that's in. I mean, all right, let's just go through the motions. It has been 6 months since I last properly looked at it. Are there other, perhaps easier options? And do you know what? There are. We've got enough here that I could probably remove this entirely, remove this, and just go for a standard sort of uprighty, is that a word? An uprighty type azalea. But I don't want to do that. So come on, let's get this ready for a cascade. Now here's a big question. Before I take it out of the soil, wouldn't it be a good idea to put some wire on that and actually see if I can get some cascade movement into it? Well, the answer to that is yes. And while I'm putting the wire on that, why don't I show you an Italian alder that I've already wired up yesterday? I didn't video it because, do you know what? Sometimes wiring can be just a bit dull. And again, for those of you who are regular with my channel, you'll know Italian alder. I think I did a species guide on Italian alder. I think it's an absolutely wonderful species to learn on, and certainly great for beginners. And this is one of about 20 I bought back in 2015, 2016. Brilliant video on it actually, rather than me go on. Well, yes, I decided it's continuing its progress, and I've wired out all the branches. And it's still got a ways to go, but I'm starting to see a front somewhere in here. And well, yeah, I'm really quite pleased and happy with it. That was originally the front there, and that can still work, except for one thing, and it's about the root structure here. If I'm truthful, I love the roots that I've got here. So buds are just opening up. This will be interesting when it's out in leaf. So wire, if you use it appropriately, if you use it with thought and carefully, can certainly help you enhance or push an ordinary bonsai into something that could be semi-decent, or even, dare I say it, spectacular. I'm really starting to like this now, and certainly for the last 5 years I haven't. Okay, well, I've attached some wire to all these branches here, and they're going to be the main ones that are going to be pulling down. As I say, I haven't yet looked at wire on those, because I really want to see what I can achieve once I've actually got it into the cascade pot. Then it'll help me decide whether I can actually use a tension wire on this, onto this bit of trunk here, if I need to bring that back up. But the main thing is to try and get that shape right, and these three positions, because they're going to be the main future for any cascade. So I'm going to get it out of this rubbish. I'm going to be using a mixture of my standard potting mix with a 50% addition of Kanuma. I've found that using 100% Kanuma here in Grantham it just doesn't seem to cut it. The trees don't seem to like it. I don't want to go back to 50% organic with it, but certainly I'm reducing the amount of Canumo in there. Anyway, let me sort the roots out and then we'll come back when we're ready to get it in its potting angle. Always wear gloves because it will suck the life out of your skin. Well, as I was looking at it, the pot changed, the idea changed, because I wanted to know what to do about that trunk and try and do something so the cascade would make a bit more sense. I bet you're dying to see exactly what's going on down there, don't you? Well, first of all, I had a near miss. You know, I lost my last camera because the wind toppled it. I literally, 25 seconds ago, had a rock in my hand when that camera started tumbling. This time, however, I dropped the tree and kept the camera, so we're all good there. Anyway, I'm sure you want to find out exactly what I've done with this azalea. First of all, there's the roots. Actually, really, if you see me jumping, it's because I'm panicking about the camera. Really interesting, good. It's actually growing really well, so it's quite healthy. You've probably noticed there's a rock there. Well, because of this, I'm actually able to use a cleft in that rock to try and justify why there's a cascade in the first place. I've been keeping these moist, so I've got my little misting bottle. Now, it's just a case of putting it in this bigger, wider, probably a semi-cascade pot. And I've just got the wire loosely held on there, and I've got the cling film stuff there is some grafting tape. But the key is I need to get the rock in enough that the roots can go into the soil. Okay, so it's going to be something like that. What do you think? I think there's potential here, I really do. Anyway, let me get some soil in there. It's held on there quite loosely. I don't know whether it might be better having actually that upwards towards us. I'll have a little wander around. I mean, I'm definitely going to be able to get cascade branches going on the three here, which is what I was looking at. And I may not make a decision on this quite yet. But let me get this in a position whilst also worrying about the camera. Right, I did have to struggle a little bit with this, and it's not quite how I wanted it on the rock, but in the end my idea didn't quite work. I couldn't quite get into the groove properly. Not a problem, I can see the concept. There are going to be a few issues. I'm quite happy I'm going to be able to create the initial layers that I want with this. Although you've got to be a little bit careful with the shoots and bark, can be brittle. There is still a little bit of movement, and if I do it slowly, work on it, I should be able to create, hopefully, what I'm really looking for in this. But the main thing I want to bring up, I mean, there's lots of potential here for bringing that actually back up and across or something. I'm going to look at that. My main aim is to get into the pot and change the angle, but there is an issue, and if you look in close, you can see the wiring efforts I've done, because I've wired it first and then put the rock in there. I've got to watch out for, there's going to be a point when this grows when that wire could potentially get trapped between the rock and the trunk and cause quite severe marking. I think once this is bedded in and is in place, I'll probably be able to release the wire and then at least monitor it. Well, this is turning into a really interesting exercise. I've got the pads that I want there, and I've got 4 distinct branches. This little one here is going to create a layer just higher up here, and I've also got just here another little bud which I'm hoping to get something from. So that should create the padding there. At the back here, I've wired out some pads here, and again that's going to give nice coverage. I'll tell you what, regardless of what you think of it now, compare it to what it was before, and it's yards better. At least it's got a sense of flavour, a sense of some design or direction. What I'm trying to decide is actually whether to remove that entirely. What I have done is there was a great big branch there with long, no internodes, nothing to do with it. It was part of 3, so I took the decision to go for the smaller ones, wire them out so we can potentially create an apical region here and have this coming down as well. Again, masking the way it's attached to the rock. I'm really loving the look of that. But with that in mind, I could still do something more with that. But then I do think we create this very false bend here. And it's not to say it won't work, but I'm wondering whether to just cut that whole lot off and start this from here and see what sort of back budding. I reckon we'll get some back budding from here if I cut it. Big decisions. I need to think about it. I may well do it though. See you in a mo. Okay, I'm pretty close to a solution. Lower, middle, and then here I've wired this one out, so we've actually got these. We've got 4, 3, we've got 2 there, we've got 1 under there. This one coming out. So we're getting this whole sweep here, plus this one here. This one going slightly that way and then up. I've got to wait for this to grow a lot more, and I think what will happen is this will create a cover over here. I may get something budding from here. But what I do think I'm going to do now, cut there. This is going to be somewhere near the top of this, but potentially I could still, well, we'll do it in parts. If I remove that, maybe. Well, go on then. I've brought this down. I've created a more compact top. Different pad areas, stuff that's still going to develop over here. But I think in terms of moving ahead for the future, there's a lot more places for it to go. We can get this more and more bushy out here. Same here. This can create around here. Got a whole lot of area here to grow. We've still got this little one here. I am. I'll be honest. Again, so many of my recent attempts, they may have a long way to go, but I feel that is suddenly a much more sustainable and interesting to the eye future bonsai. And it's an azalea. I wanted to go similar. Looks like I'm going semi-cascade here. I could still end up removing that top part there, and I don't know if we can easily do it or show it. Probably not, but we could just remove that part of it, and then we just end up having that. That's still very much on the cards, but for now I'm leaving it that, and I'm saying very, very happy, very, very different. But what do you think?
Can I be honest?
Well, like all of my projects, I always like to finish them off. I've got a mudman there, and in the background here I've actually got a cutting that came from possibly this one or another of my Satsuki azaleas, and I've planted that in the back, and that potentially will make another great big tree that will eventually, do you know, I'm more and more inclined, I can't help it, yeah, I think so. I'm terrible, aren't I? Okay. Okay, I think we're there, and do you know what? We're now definitely sticking to the semi-cascade. Everything's going to come out this way. This is going to continue to grow up around here. This may well grow up around the front here, and we won't have that. Well, I think in the end, you'll probably agree with me that that was just too clunky. It didn't fit with the new design. Sometimes you've got to say to yourself, no, go for broke, go for it. And I don't regret that. It does feel like there's something missing there, but that's going to grow. And I have no doubt we're probably, as a result of that, going to get some budding at the back there. I've been looking for an excuse to do something with 1 or 2 of my cuttings. That should work out well. And well, I think with all of my projects, you tend to see I like to finish them off with a whole inspirational theme. And there you go. So, Jason Hanrahan out of the Bonsai Garden. What do you think of my solution to this Satsuki azalea? Better or worse? You tell me in the comments. In fact, all of you, please. I'm encouraged Tell me what you think. I know some of you would have preferred to go the other way, but I'm over the moon. So whether it be a total redesign on a problematic Satsuki Azalea, or indeed exploring your root over rock project, find out whether it's actually stuck. Hey, this one has. I'm going to let it grow. I do need to cut it back a bit, but that's boring. But if you really want to know how I do my Chinese elm cutting, that's the video for you. It's brilliant. Apart from that, happy bonsai, God bless, stay creative. Cheers.